July, the 4th of July, the 4th of July, excuse me, 4th of July. But yeah, everybody, what's good? Peace. How y'all doing? I know this is a holiday for a lot of people. People out there celebrating out in the world, grilling, barbecuing. My day is just getting started. So if you tune in, great. If you don't, I won't hold it against you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, happy 4th. Happy 4th of July. On this day in 1776, some peoples got mad at some other peoples, and those two peoples parted ways. So this is like a divorce of sorts. Um, this day commemorates the divorce of two peoples that didn't get along because of proclaimed different freedoms that they agreed or disagreed with at different points in time. What's good, Vince? Peace, Jason. Of course, Slick, I see you. But yeah, the 4th of July, that's what it is. Everybody's in their space today. And I appreciate that. So if you do come through, right, some colonizers got mad at some other colonizers because of colonization, and they disagreed on who should be the supreme colonizer. So they parted ways, and now there are two separate colonizers who are now colonizing the world at odds, which led to world wars and etc. But for real, happy 4th of July. I jest, but at the same time, I am being very serious. I'm in America. I understand the politics of America, or the United States of America. So I understand the 4th of July as it stands and what it represents. But at the end of the day, the 4th of July is actually colonizer versus colonizer, and parting ways to become two separate colonizers that continue to colonize. The wokest show, right? So yeah, we here. Today is an interesting day because it is the 4th, and I know most people are out and about enjoying the day, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the world. I don't disappoint. The show must go on. So the Amby Warhol show is here. What's up, Maxie? I got my water. I got all of my needs all intact. I got all my goodies. I got my notes. You know what I'm saying? Like, we about to get into some things. Honestly, let's talk about a few things that happened this past week. First of all, Hiatus Coyote's album is just brilliant. I just have to reiterate how brilliant that album is. And yeah, the Hiatus Coyote album, if you haven't listened to Hiatus Coyote ever, then you're missing out, and you need to jump on it and get into it. But at the same time, what's up, Ray? Peace. What up? So, but if you haven't seen or listened to, rather, Hiatus Coyote ever, get into them. If you have, their new album just dropped this past week. It's bananas. I got the vinyl. I'm so excited. I love it. Also, Tyler the Creator dropped a fucking beast of an album. Like, coming from a person who has explored lyricism as an MC, I know what it's like when you explore different areas of your creativity and you start to push boundaries and limits of your own talent. So you start to go in these different spaces, and you get to this point where you'd be what people would consider an experimental album. I don't really subscribe to the idea of experimental, because I think as an artist or as a musician in general, everything you do should be experimenting and pushing the envelope of your platform. You should. I mean, some people, they like to stay in a certain lane, and that's great. That's not a problem. But I do think that experimentation in music is very, very, very important. What up, GQ? I see you. What's good? But yeah, like, the experimentation led Tyler to a space where he did Flower Boy and these other abstractions, and of course that tends to cause you want to just cut free from all of that conceptual production in that conceptual world, and you want to traverse into some other lyricism. And Tyler went back to form and went back into his roots in terms of just his raw melancholy, high energy anti music, I guess is how I would describe it. But and the same thing with Hiatus Coyote. Hiatus Coyote's new album, you can hear a growth and a progression of their process. And this album is so refined in a way that neither of the previous albums presented. And I love where it went in terms of sonically. I love where it went musically in terms of the content, the things that she sung about. But yeah, those two albums, I've been stuck playing over and over and over again. And I'm a big fan of Tyler. For those who don't know, like um, the whole Odd Future movement as it started and where it's ended up. I'm a big fan of Tyler from jump. And where he is now, I appreciate because of the fact that he's able to travel in these different worlds and then bring it back and still slap you in the face with his dick and his innuendos and his insults and his play on people's insecurities and his lack of empathy for other people. Yeah, and you're right, Maxie. That was 6 years in the making, and you can tell that they evolved. Speaking about hiatus, that they evolved greatly in that time period. They have become they were already a great band, so not to take away from that. But now, my goodness, now they are a band that is in the ranks of the greats. Like they are becoming a legendary band where like I can't wait to see where they go next and what they do and how they move and how they navigate through all these different landscapes that they keep creating because I really didn't know what to expect from this hiatus album. And what I got was beyond what I could have imagined from them. And I appreciated it. On another note, I don't know if there was some other stuff that came out, but I can't for some reason place my finger or remember who it was. But yeah, and I agree, Maxie. Yeah, Palm's Health helped them evolve and get their focus right. Yo, what up, AJ? Peace. How you feel, brother? Peace, peace. Yeah, this. So if there's any other music that came out that you guys think I should be checking out, just drop a little statement and let me know because I'm interested in knowing what other people think. And again, thank you all for those who are tuning in because I know it is the 4th of July and I know people got things to do. They got places to be. They got barbecues. They got sunshine. They got outdoorsy. I'm just warming up and getting in the vibe because the show must go on and I don't disappoint. For those who missed this will be here for them to see later, tomorrow, whenever. We got a whole week until next Sunday. Plenty of time for people who do not watch this real time to watch this at their convenience because, that's what it's about, right? So, yeah, what else happened interesting this week? There's been talk about relationships, and there's this big thing going around about Zendaya and Tom Holland. And, honestly, I don't care. And, I don't really get into the politics of and the gossip of that. But I just want to touch on the fact that, first of all, these are two cast members who have been in 3 movies together playing romantic love interests. And I'm pretty sure that that's not getting ready to stop anytime soon. So whether a flame developed in that concept or they're just practicing for the movie, we don't know. So let's let them be who they are without us getting in their shit trying to analyze and define their relationships. Let them have the space to define and enjoy themselves the way they see fit until they want to reveal what they are. Similar to Rihanna and ASAP, to Rocky I'm talking about. Yeah, okay, so Ego LMA, Honey for Wounds Deluxe Edition. Okay, bet. I will be checking for that. That sounds like a vinyl release, but I will listen and see where I end up on that spectrum. Yeah, so all that considered, let's get on with the show. Of course, we all know why we're here. We all know what we want to talk about. Before I get into Loki episode 4, though, I do want to do a couple of shout outs. So first of all, I want to shout out my Fly Nerd crew, Fly Nerd Group, Blur Gang. We are being interviewed tonight on Zoom. The details will be provided to you shortly, or you can check one of our pages. Go to the Fly Nerd Group, go to Coach East's page, any one of the Fly Nerd members, and we'll have some information regarding our interview tonight. So we're going to be participating in another person's podcast as featured guests. So that's pretty fly. Things are moving up, right? We are. What else is going on tomorrow? We go back into the studio to record our Wednesday episode for Fly Nerd Prime Time. We're going to have a special guest tomorrow. That will be the legendary illustrator, the illustrious illustrator Glyph Sputnik. Glyph Sputnik is known for the Wu-Tang album cover from the last album that they released. Glyph and I worked together on his comic book that he released called Samurai in a Hoodie. came out a couple of years ago, in conjunction with 36 Chambers and executive produced by RZA. So we will have him on the show tomorrow, which will air on Wednesday on Twitch and YouTube, and we will interview him and we will kick the Willy Bobos, as they say. So yeah, tune into that. That's exciting news. For those who have not had the opportunity yet, go to auspicenow.bandcamp.com and purchase the beautiful and grandiose compilation album released by the record label that I participate in, help manage, called Auspice Now. We released a compilation called Praline Soul Searching, and it's a wide spectrum of music, from a lot of different genres, electronic, jazz. There's some hip hop, some poetry. There's we've got a lot of interesting artists featured on this album, including Angel Bat Dawid. We've got some vocals from Buck of Psychodrama. So we keeping it real Chicago. Yeah, so definitely go to auspicenow.bandcamp.com and purchase that compilation album, because it's really good and we're getting some really great feedback regarding that album. So I would appreciate it. The next thing I would like to bring up is right now, just take a second, go to my YouTube page, The Amby Warhol Show. Go to my YouTube page. Please subscribe. Please turn on your notifications. I'm in the process of releasing my new YouTube content, which is going to be a little different from this IG Live situation that we got going on here. That is going to be coming very, very, very soon. In fact, follow me on all the social media. I'm everywhere, one way or the other. But definitely get in tune. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Subscribe to me on Twitch as well. It's also the Amby Warhol Show on Twitch. I need as many subscriptions as possible so that when I launch my new platform, you guys will be able to catch it and it will be saved and able to be viewed at a later date. Also, go to the Fly Nerd Primetime or the Fly Nerd Group YouTube channel and subscribe to that page. We will be releasing all of our content on there. We will be doing some specials on there as well, some unique one-offs that we'll be contributing to when we go on excursions to cons or maybe the movies or whatever. We're going to start featuring a lot of content outside of just the Fly Nerd Primetime show. I'm also going to ask you to follow Auspice Now. Same scenario, follow Auspice Now on social media, all of it. Follow Auspice Now on Bandcamp. Again, auspicenow.bandcamp.com. Follow Auspice Now on YouTube. And actually on YouTube is Auspace, AUSPACE. I really appreciate you guys for that support. If you do have the opportunity to follow, great. We've got a lot of things coming up for you in terms of content as well as merch. We're going to start putting together swag bags with t-shirts and with action figures and all types of cool stuff for you guys to purchase and win, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Peace, Sarita. Peace, Cheese. I see you, Coach Cheese. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And yes, Maxie, I do see Rita J, Akmal Rashan, Bet on Bandcamp. Got you. So I'm gonna tune in to check out those albums as well. But yeah, please follow us on all of our various platforms. Again, any of the Fly Nerd Group platforms on YouTube and Twitch, because we need you to start building that support with us. Follow the Amby Warhol Show on those same platforms, YouTube, Twitch. Follow Auspice Now, same platforms, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, IG. Follow us everywhere. Follow all of these because there's going to be massive amounts of content, merch, giveaways, and opportunities for you guys to divulge further and dig further into the world that we are creating for you guys through the Fly Nerd Network. So yeah, thank you. Just thank you. I mean, sincerely, thank you. I appreciate everybody that's been supporting from day one, even the day twos, the day threes. I love all of y'all, and I appreciate everybody who's participated and who has demonstrated their support. We're here to stay. Fly Nerd Group is here to stay. The Amby Warhol Show is here to stay. We're evolving at every moment. We're growing. We're becoming something of a phenomenon, something like a phenomenon, to quote LL. And the same thing with my label Auspice Now. Coach East, you also have a label. and have just released an album this past week. If you can, do me a favor, put that link in the IG Live so that we can let people check that out. That's very, very, very important. Support everything we're doing because we need your support in order to keep doing this. And I'm not just talking about on the strength of it. I mean, I work a full-time job. I do hustles on the side. I do a lot of different jams and moves and makes, and it's a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we doing. There's an event on July 31st. Coachy Soul Star will be performing product from his new album that he's planning to release. When that happens, you will know. Stay tuned for that. But that will take place on July 31st, 4060 North Lincoln. It's a night with the Fly Nerds Supreme. I look forward to seeing y'all there because we will be in the building and the Fly Nerds will be kicking it hard. So, yo, peace. Yeah, so that's it for the announcements. That's everything we got going on right now. I will keep you informed about our Zoom interview tonight because that is going down. And I hope that you guys can tune in because we're going to be talking with another group of nerds, another group of geeks. They're not the Fly Nerds, but who can be but us, right? We still going to tune in because we down with everybody and everybody is down with us. So, Loki, episode 4, right? The Nexus Event. Let's just talk about that for a minute. We don't even have to get into the episode yet. Let's just discuss this Nexus Event that this episode is called. We discussed, like they previously acknowledged what a Nexus Event is. A Nexus Event are these unauthorized deviations from the sacred timeline that result in alternate timelines branching off to produce new realities and new universes, as it were. And in those moments, the TVA comes in, they shut shit down, and then they move, they erase everybody's existence from that alternate timeline, and then they charge the deviant with crimes against the sacred timeline. Very political, very self-serving, obviously, because they choose what the timeline is that is sacred, and anybody else's deviation, as it were, is considered an abomination. Yeah, so with that being said, episode 4, which starts quite brilliantly on a subtle level. It starts with an Asgard. It starts with an Asgard that consists of a young lady Loki. It's an Asgard with a young lady Loki who is playing with these dolls. She's having fun. She doesn't look like she's doing anything wrong. It doesn't look like she's done anything wrong. It doesn't look like she's even aware of the idea of doing anything wrong. But all of a sudden, Renslayer shows up, grabs her, drags her out of Asgard back to the TVA. And by the way, this is young Renslayer because Renslayer is not the judge that we know as of this point in the series, but this is Renslayer who is identified as Minuteman A23. And what's cool about Minuteman A23 is that in Avengers 23, A23, that is the actual issue that Renslayer was present or introduced in. And there's a lot of other things that happen in that particular issue that give hints to what they may be alluding to by even naming her A22 or A23, other than just a nod towards that. So look into that and see what that means, because I'm pretty sure the things that happen in that particular series are very, very, very possible to happen in this particular series and where this could go. And I'm not just talking about within the next 2 episodes, because there are only 6 episodes of Loki, but I mean in the next 2 episodes leading into the next series of films and the whole next phase of Marvel. There's a lot that's happening because of as we already see with this particular episode. That but yeah, so they erase this timeline that somehow is a deviant timeline. We don't know why. We have no clue what's going on in that capacity. But young Renslayer, A23, takes young Lady Loki to be judged. And young Lady Loki proves to be a feisty one. And she escapes and she snatches her temp pad and she bounces. And that's in and of itself is crazy, because A23 was so, or Renslayer was so shocked in that moment that she didn't even know how to respond. And the thing that makes this moment interesting, first and foremost, because there's an allusion to what this is about later, but I'm going to touch on this now. We're talking about a little girl who's sitting playing with her dolls completely innocently, oblivious, and she gets dragged away very horrifically. I'm sure this is kidnapping at this point, and it's always been identified as kidnapping, but now we're seeing that even people who are unaware of their deviation, even more so than Loki being given, I mean, the Tesseract was thrown at his feet, but he's still held responsible for using it, as if he knew that that would be a problem. And now we're looking at a little girl who looked like she was doing absolutely nothing in that particular moment, and they're accusing her of violating the sacred timeline by doing something. I'm starting to think that it's less about Loki's violating the sacred timeline and more about Loki's themselves. And this is just my own theory I'm starting to put together. Similar to Wanda, I'm starting to hypothesize, starting to theorize that the Lokis are also Nexus beings. And therefore, the significance of Lokis are such that they are a threat to either the sacred timeline or whomever is actually behind the TVA in one way or another. And I think that we're going to see through this process that the TVA has a personal vendetta against Loki. And whenever they have an opportunity to seize a Loki, they will, not because they've done anything wrong, but because they're Loki and they're afraid of Loki because of what Loki is capable of doing as a Nexus being. And again, Nexus beings are individuals who are anchor points in a particular reality, and thus their significance to the movement of a timeline or a particular universe is impactful. So if the Loki deviates, then that really becomes something of value. Exactly. You know, Loki is an unknown variable, and I don't think that the whomever is behind the TVA can account for Loki's chaos, so to speak. But I do think that he very much is the embodiment of a Nexus being, and that he is a threat to the order that the TVA have been trying to establish and keep. So, young Lady Loki is gone. We're back to the present. Renslayer Judge, the Judge Renslayer, that is. She confronts the timekeepers, and we get to see these little weird dudes sitting in their seats. What's really interesting about this scene, first and foremost, the first thing I saw, the very first thing I observed was this glowing sigil behind the TVA. And first thing I thought was, are we talking about the type of sigil or glyph that or rune that blocks magic use? So maybe now we're getting into the understanding of why magic does not work in this TVA facility. It's because there is another user of magic who has put their runes around the TVA to restrict magic from being used. Could that be possible? It makes sense because we've already established, according to another series by the name of WandaVision, that you put runes around a room and it stops people from being able to use their magic, except for the person who cast the rune. That looked like a rune to me. It was a big glowing sigil in the air or on the wall behind them, particularly in that area to protect them. But it's probably sigils located all around the TVA that are protecting magic use, or restricting magic use, I should say. Yeah, and that's dope. You said the man thing is also a nexus of all realities in the comics. Indeed. See, so we're getting somewhere with this idea of nexus beings and like their significance. And if we understand how Marvel works, they build upon their storytelling. So you introduce nexus beings, then you introduce how nexus beings can impact realities. And we'll get to that as we go through the story. So Renslayer is in front of the timekeepers, who I've identified have a rune behind them to block magic. And then we see Renslayer coming out, and that ominous moment, Renslayer and Mobius are discussing the timekeepers, and they're upset, and the failures, and they're judging her, and they're mad at her, and all. And then Mobius says, "Hey, I want to talk to C20. I need to know what's going on with C20. Is C20 okay?" Renslayer tells him that C20 died, and he's like, "What? She was fine." And he was like, "Well, she deteriorated because Lady Loki was in her mind," and ooh, up the bam. And then tells Mobius that he must keep this a secret. That's always clue number one. Someone tells you to keep a secret, something that is very much an important part of the investigation. If people are dying from Sylvie doing her enchantment, that's kind of something everybody should know. And then it's also the question of why the enchantment killed C20 but didn't kill B15. We'll get to that, right? So now Loki and Sylvie are back on Lamentis 1. And they're having their moment of accepting this demise, right? So then Sylvie, realizing that she's coming to her death, she starts to reveal her history. And she starts to explain the reality of who she thinks she is as a Loki and what it means to be a Loki from her perspective, to which she identified that the universe wants to break free, so it manifests chaos. And she believes that Loki is the embodiment of chaos, herself being Loki, obviously, but that also would apply to any other Loki. So if Lokis are the universe trying to break free from the control, particularly that the TVA is under, then again, they're a critical part of reality and therefore would be a Nexus being. They're just a Nexus being that does one thing, where Wanda is a Nexus being that does another thing. But again, think about the correspondence again. We're still talking about the same premise. WandaVision revealed that Wanda uses chaos magic, and that made her the Scarlet Witch. Loki or Sylvie is identifying that the universe wants to break free, so it manifests chaos in the form of Loki. So once again, chaos, Nexus beings, critical points, staples, roots that exist in reality that are seeming to be revolving around chaos, which means that maybe the universe doesn't want to be controlled in the form of a sacred timeline. Maybe the universe wants to explore and challenge and break away and deviate and go in all these different directions to explore and experience itself. Because what good is an experience if it's controlled? You can't get to know yourself. You can't get to know anything else if your experiment is controlled. You want experience, not an experiment. So chaos seems to be the thing that is the ultimate challenge to this whole timeline thing and this whole multiverse thing. And Nexus beings seem to also be connected to chaos in one form or another. Interesting tidbit there. So we'll keep going with that. So we're back to Mobius. He's walking towards the hallway. He comes to B15 where Sylvie is, and they're actually Mobius and Mobius and B15 are actually looking for Loki and Sylvie in space-time. They're checking the timeline for any branches that would occur from them being somewhere they shouldn't, doing something they shouldn't do. And so then B15 asks him about C20, and Mobius tells what he was told, that she died. Now, B15 at this point this is the first time ever in the series that B15 has demonstrated any form of emotional anxiety. She is demonstrating a severe emotion, and it's not an emotion of we got to get this shit done, let's go get it, I ain't scared of nobody. It's an emotion that seems to put her off a little off on her square. She's a little inconsistent. Like she's like more concerned and expressing like she's worried. We have to find her. We have to find out what's going on. Why is she so interested in C20? We'll find out. So now Loki and Sylvie are back on the planet Lamentis 1, and they start to have this moment, this connection. And this connection brings them to lock eyes and have this moment, right? To be honest with you, while I was watching this particular scene, I cannot front. It felt fucking weird. It felt kind of off because it is Loki and a Loki that were having that moment. And it was just, there was a moment like, that's a little off. Felt a little weird. But they have a moment that seemed to be like kind of a bonding, almost like developing an affinity and maybe an emotional love for each other. And it creates a Nexus event that is so different from anything that we've ever seen. Like most of the Nexus events, most of the timelines kind of deviate literally on I'd say like maybe like that might be like a 30-degree, 33-degree, somewhere around there angle. At best, we might have saw 45. This one is damn near 85 to 87%. This was approaching 90 degrees. This one was almost shooting straight up, which means that was such a deviation. That was such a Nexus event that it not only caused a change in the timeline, but it completely said, I'm going to fuck this way. I'm going where no motherfucker went before type of deviation. And it was steep and it was fast. And this resulted in the TVA finding them. So right at the point of demise, they're about to meet their end. The doorway's open, and next thing you know, Loki and Sylvie are in the clutches of the TVA, and being separated, for their crimes against the timeline. So Mobius has this moment with Loki, gives him the usual mumbo jumbo business. But he has this moment where he tells Loki that his problem is that he's not a good friend, that he's an asshole. And Loki then tells him the TVA is lying. And both of them have this moment where that information crosses them. You could see Loki's face was really like kind of like shocked, like, you consider me a friend? And like a real friend? Like, you really? And then Loki gets put into this space. In this space, we find out that he's back on Asgard, a particular memory where he cuts Sif's hair off, and then Sif comes and she manhandles him and puts him on his ass quite abruptly and quite harshly, and says that he's pathetic and that he'll always be alone. And what we find out is that this moment just keeps repeating because Loki is in some type of time loop prison, and he's being judged. So in this moment, he's going back and back and back and forth. And meanwhile, Mobius goes and visits Renslayer and asks to speak to Sylvie. Again, he's snooping and he's going a little deeper than he should. He's putting himself in places and positions that he should not be. And Renslayer outright says, nah, bruh, that ain't where you going. Not today. Go bye-bye, boo-boo. And so Mobius is like, hey, what's the deal? What's happening? Why can't I go see Sylvie? She's like, why? Because I said so. Get on your life. And so Mobius goes out, and then he goes and he bumps into B-15 again, and they have an interesting conversation. So it's these subtle moments that make these shows so great, because when they make statements speaking about the universe wants to break free, and so it breaks free, so it manifests chaos. Those are lines that are going to echo throughout the next phase of the Marvel universe. The line that they say here, where Mobius is talking about this whole thing with what's the big deal with these Lokis, and he's like, we've brought in Kree, we've brought in Titans and vampires, and I think that moment right there, Kree, Titans, and vampires. So we know who the Kree are. We understand the Kree. We know who Titans are, or at least we kind of know who Titans are. It's questionable whether Titans are actually Eternals who are deviants, or if they are Eternals at all. If Thanos is just one who lives on Titan. We don't really know for sure if the Titans are a separate group of people or if they're Eternals that are there. But vampires, they mention very straightforward vampires. And we know that they've already announced that they're doing a Blade film. We also know that they've announced that they're doing a Mobius, the Living Vampire film. This is the second time that vampires have officially been mentioned in Marvel films. The first time was in Thor Ragnarok. And when Thor is about to go and fight Hulk, and what's his name pulls out the three wooded spiked spear and says, this is probably useless unless you have three vampires huddled together, and then you can stab them all at the same time. So yeah, correct. So in terms of the vampire mention, and the fact that we now are dealing with the fact that they're acknowledging that they've had this experience with vampires, is a very interesting arc and a very interesting angle. So Kree, Titans, and vampires. I think that's significant because I would assume that Mobius is mentioning those three because in terms of the threats that the Kree, I mean that the TVA have faced. Remember, he told Loki earlier on that he's not really a threat. They face real threats. So the assumption is that the Kree, Titans, and vampires are the three threats that are greatest to the TVA. And it's interesting. So yeah, you're asking, are vampires Nexus beings? Not vampires across the board, but the thing is that individuals are Nexus beings, particular individuals. So like, for example, Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being, just her, not her brother, not her family, not her friends, just her. My theory that Loki is a Nexus being means that just him, not all Frost Giants, not all Asgardians, just Loki. So there probably was critical Kree particular individuals, a particular Titan, and I'm pretty sure that Titan was Thanos. I'm pretty sure that in one of those 14 million variations of time that we saw, the time traveling Thanos won, and thus being a time traveler that defeated the Avengers would then be somebody that the TVA had to grab and then erase that timeline. So we know that that's probably what they're talking about when they're talking about Titans, because they honestly have not introduced other Titans. So, but yeah, this vampire thing is huge. It's a very impactful moment. And yeah, Star Fox is a Titan that is Thanos' brother, which I'm hoping to see. I would love to see Star Fox in a film. And honestly, I have some ideas about who should be Star Fox. And don't laugh at me, but I actually imagine Star Fox being Tyler the Creator for a lot of different reasons. But if you know Star Fox and you think about Tyler, it kind of works. It could also be Jaden Smith. I think that he would be a great Star Fox for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, with that being said, so now we're back. B15 is kind of still going further with her questions. Like she's really like stepping into this world where she's no longer that poised and ready to fuck shit up person. She's not that soldier now. Now she seems to be a concerned and worried individual seeking answers and trying to figure things out. So now we're back to Loki being beat down by Sif over and over again. And he finally gets to this space where he confesses that he's wrong and he feels this way and that way about her and who up the bam. And for lack of a better way to describe this, at this particular point, she doesn't attack him. And then Mobius comes in and tells him, all right, you ready to talk? They go and they do their thing and they're sitting down. They go through their dance, the typical Mobius Loki back and forth, trying to outwit and, you know, cleverly jab and throw shade at each other. But Loki, he goes to this point where he lies, claiming that the whole scheme was his idea and that Sylvie is just a pawn in his charade and that it's all about him and he's going to dispose of her when she's finally useless. And then to which he tells her, well, that's good to know because, you know, we pruned her, she's dead. To which, you know, Loki has this moment and he's like, what do you mean? That's bullshit. And then Mobius was like, I see it in your eyes. You fell for yourself, you narcissist prick. And this is very interesting because, again, two Nexus beings from two different worlds start to come together. The possibilities are infinite when you talk about chaos. Because what happens if two of the exact same people, two Lokis from two different realities, were to actually come together and maybe produce a third? What would that third do to the multiverse? What would that third do to reality? That's an impossible situation that becomes possible, thus producing a timeline that doesn't deviate in that direction, but deviates straight up. So yeah, Mobius realizes that Loki fell for himself, that Loki sincerely and truly loves himself, which is very narcissist in theory, but I don't think this is what that moment is revealing. I personally think that this is a moment where Loki is starting to value himself. Like up to this point, he didn't really have value for himself. He was insecure. He really was that lonely, scared little boy in the snow. And he's spent his entire life trying to prove himself to Odin, trying to prove himself to Thor, trying to prove himself to everybody around him always that he was special and that he means something and that he's significant. The TVA is telling him that he's just a blip on the radar that they just have to smear because his only purpose is to make other people great. Loki's entire life has been him trying to find value in himself. And he sees value in himself through her, who is doing something that he identifies as an amazing gesture and an amazing feat, that she single-handedly from a child has been a threat, interrupting the movement of the TVA and interrupting their success. And she did this alone. She learned magic on her own, and he's just looking at himself like, wow, I'm pretty good. So I think that this is kind of a double entendre where the affinity that he's experiencing with her is really him coming to terms with himself and learning to love himself sincerely. You know what I'm saying? So again, Mobius realizes this. So then he tries to tell Mobius, yo, man, look, this is the real deal. The TVA are lying to you. All of you are variants. They erased your memories. You guys are pawns in somebody's sadistic game, and he believes the timekeepers should be overthrown. Mobius has a moment where he pauses, and then he tries to play it off like he didn't really take that into consideration. And then he sends Loki back into the time loop prison for that to occur all over again. But before he gets sent in, Loki retaliates with a major trump card of his own, where he basically tells Mobius that the biggest problem is that Mobius is lying to himself. He said, of all the people around who are lying and all the lies being spread, you're lying to yourself, which I think that was the same way the friend comment impacted Loki. This impacted Mobius in a way that he is now starting to really recalibrate and go back through everything that's happened and everything that's played out and start to question, well, okay, what am I lying to myself about? Why would you say that? And then he's thinking back and he's starting to question, like, hey, I was trying to find out about this, and I just went with the lie that she told me. Maybe that's a lie. So now Mobius and Linslayer are sitting together having a drink, discussing the closing of the case of Loki's, because Mobius figured out what triggered the Nexus event. Mobius also thinks he's figured out what Loki's plan was. And so now they're celebrating and he's having his drink, and then, you know, she's asking him, so if you can go anywhere, where would you want to go? And Mobius just ain't feeling that right now. Mobius is on something different. And he's like, so why wouldn't you let me see Sylvie? What's going on with this? And what's going on with that? Like, why wouldn't you let me do that? And then he asked about C20 and, you know, really asking, trying to clarify C20. So at this point, Renslayer's kind of looking at him like side eye, like, and, you know, he's trying to play it off. And then she mentions this moment, like, as she's trying to explain to him, you know, that she did everything and she's been telling him the things to protect him. And then he goes on to say that she says to him that we're friends against time, and that friendship like ours is rare to come by. And I think at that moment, that whole friendship conversation made him think about the friendship he has with Loki, which was rare, and that they were actually in it together against, you know, to do things in time. And he realized that Loki was really probably honestly trying to be a friend to him, and that she's deceiving him, which is, you know, connecting all the dots to what Loki had been saying. So at this point, you know, after thinking of Loki, he then like gives her Sylvie's sword, to which while she's got her back turned, he switches his temp pad with her temp pad, which obviously means that he has access to all the files that everybody else don't have access to. And, you know, then he bounces out, and as he's bouncing out, she's like, he only had one drink. And then now she's side at him because he bounced, and she's like, really? So Renslayer is on to Mobius. Mobius thinks he got away scot-free. B-15 is just losing her emotional control more and more. So she confronts Sylvie. Takes Sylvie back to Rock's cart, and they start talking. You know, Sylvie's ready to fight, like, yo, this way we gonna go down, let's go. And she's like, nah. What's up with what's going on? What am I seeing? What did you make me see? What's going on? And Sylvie's like, yo, I don't produce the realities that you see. I just conjure your memories to the forefront of your mind. That's your life. That's not me doing that. And at this moment, B15 says, well, then show me. And then they have this beautiful moment where B15 sees her pass and says, I was happy. I look so happy. And then we know shit's about to hit the fan now, because B15 is joined with Sylvie. And on the other side, Mobius is sitting accessing the files related to C20. He's watching C20 run through the gambit of what happened. And C20 is talking about memories, and I had a life, and I'm a deviant, and you guys snatched me, and we're all this, and we're not supposed to be here. And then you see that shocked face of Renslayer after her bombshell reveal. Froze. He pauses it, and he's like, oh, so this is all bullshit. So he then goes to get Loki, and he tells Loki point blank, like, look, this is what it is. I think that you were telling the truth, and I believe that what happened between you and Sylvie can bring down this whole thing, and we got to figure this out. So now they go back into the TVA from the time loop prison, and Renslayer and the Minutemen are waiting for him, just sitting there waiting for him. She knew, so they're intercepted. Mobius starts to have his conversation, and he starts like, yeah, if I wanted to go somewhere, like if I could go anywhere, I would go where I came from. I probably rode a jet ski. That's where I want to be. And she was like, prune him, and Mobius perishes. Man, Mobius is gone. Like, just like this. It was so like, holy shit. Loki just got a friend. And his friend is gone just as quickly as he got the friend. So that was a tragic moment. I have to admit, that was a very it was just so impactful. It was so heavy. I was not ready. I was not ready for him to be pruned that way and so abruptly. Like, this guy is he's like, Mobius has been so impactful up to this point. So the way they did that, and so harshly and so abruptly and unapologetically, was just goes to show how this show takes risks, and it throws you for a loop. It'll get rid of people. It'll get rid of people. And so he's pruned. Loki's sitting there just completely fucked up. Like, he's stuck. So she's escorting him to the timekeepers. And at this moment, Renslayer realizes that B15 has also been compromised. Oh shit. So now you fucked over, all of y'all is fucked. And she about to prune the whole fucking place. So Sylvie is now walking with Loki to face the timekeepers. Sylvie in the elevator up to the timekeepers confronts Renslayer and is like, yo, do you remember me? She was like, yeah, I remember you. The fuck do you want? What you gonna do? And Sylvie's like, yo, I was a kid. Like, what was the Nexus event that I triggered? What did I even do? And Renslayer, like in true asshole fashion, just was like, I don't even remember. So that shit may mean something to you, but for me, that was an insignificant mumbo jumbo. And fuck your life and fuck your reality, fuck your timeline, fuck all that. And I'm sure Sylvie at this point is steaming. I'm sure her blood is boiling and there's steam coming out her ears, and you could boil an egg on top of her head. Sylvie probably wanted to whoop that ass on sight. So more so than she already did, of course. So now there's an interesting segment going back to what I discussed in the beginning of this dialogue. Was there a Nexus event? Was there even an event that occurred that this version of Loki did? Or was it just that they were going around trying to get as many Lokis as possible before they became a threat to the TVA? So the chicken egg question comes into play here. Was there an actual Nexus event at that moment? Or are they just preventing Lokis from running free because Lokis are Nexus beings that embody chaos, which is a threat to the TVA and the sacred timeline? So she had waffles instead of pancakes for breakfast that morning, and so she created a Nexus event. Man, listen, I'm not sure that there was a Nexus event. I'm really of the mind that there are several Lokis that are not actually splintering timelines as much as they are a threat, and they're pruning timelines where that threat brings down the TVA. You heard it here first. So now they're in front of these motherfuckers, these giant ass timekeepers with rooms behind them keeping people from using magic. And they are fucking hilarious. The way they talk, the one talks so fucking ridiculous. Like it was bad. And so the Lokis are like, yo, you brought us here for that? Like the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, really? That's what we here to talk about? Like, no, I'm not participating in this charade. Like, get the fuck up out of here. And so at this point, you know, they're clapping back at the timekeepers, and B-15 comes in day to day, like, yo, for all time, always, and throws the sword to Sylvie after turning off their little time collars. And so now the Lokis are getting it in with the Minutemen. And then Sylvie says, yo, bitch, I'm right here. Let's do this. And then Loki's like, yeah, you go fight her because I'm not in shape, really. I'm not prepared. Can you hand me a sword or something over here? And Loki's like, you know, so Loki's trying to handle his, but, you know, Sylvie handling, puts Renslayer on her out. So now, you know, Loki is done. Sylvie turns to the timekeepers and like, fuck y'all. Hurls that sword, beheads Central Timekeeper, and it's a fucking android. And it's at this moment I have to put this disclaimer in, because for those who know me, know I fucking hate robots. I hate them. I hate androids. I hate robots. I despise them. I'm a robophobe. I don't give a fuck. I'm a fucking robophobe. Fuck robots. Why do I hate robots? Because in every fucking story, they're the reason that we get fucked over. We ain't even got to go to Terminator. We ain't got to go to fucking Blade Runner. We ain't got to go to the Matrix. We can go to little subtle robots and things like 2001. We can go to subtle things like Alien. Androids. Fucking robots. Fucking robots. Like, sir, let's just be clear. We have stepped into the Marvel universe and they bring back the big three. Loki's show has the big three all in one. It has androids, aliens, and what? Everybody knows what this is. What's the next one? Androids, aliens, and wizards. Yes. Androids, aliens, and wizards. So, okay, Short Circuit was an anomaly. Short Circuit is the only one. Short Circuit was alive. He was not just a robot. He was like Sonny on iRobot. Sonny was not a robot. Sonny was alive. Johnny Five was alive. I don't fuck around with them other things that ain't alive. And when you're alive, you're a little different. But I don't fuck with robots and androids at all. Period. No. So big three in all in the Loki series, and dynamic. So now, it's a fucking robot head that rolls down. So if the timekeepers are robots, either they're robots or those are decoys because they know that people are trying to get them, and the real three timekeepers are somewhere else, safe. Because when they cut the head off, they show us they're laughing. Ha ha ha, you dumb bitch. Ha ha ha, I got you. Fooled you. Ha ha, motherfucker. And then they turned off. But the laugh was so fucking annoying because robots are assholes by nature. Robots are assholes. They always are. Androids are complete assholes. They're always assholes. They do not know. No. They take your jobs. They take your life. They take over the world. Fucking robots. But yeah, so if the TVA are controlled by the timekeepers, then the timekeepers are somewhere else safe. Or somebody else is pulling strings, and this whole timekeepers thing was a man behind the curtain rules a la Wizard of Oz, as many of you mentioned. But there are so many possibilities to what's happening right now. there's so many variables to who's really behind this. This just opened up a whole fucking Pandora's box of possibilities. The timekeepers, are they real? Are they not real? Who's really behind this? Which is what they start to ask themselves. And at which point, Loki and Sylvie, Loki tries to take this moment. Look, I understand this is fucked up, but I just have to tell you something. And he tries to confess. He tells her, try to tell her how he feels and how that impacted the timeline and created that Nexus event and whoop the bam. And right before he's about to say the words, and Renslayer prunes him right in front of Sylvie, just completely ceased to exist. He perished. Once again, an unexpected moment out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, he's gone. So we lost Mobius and we lost Loki. And then the nerve of Renslayer to think that now she's gonna go with Sylvie. Sylvie is the badass. Loki is a magician, but Sylvie will fucking whoop your ass and proceeds to checkmate her. And was like, all right, bet. You about to tell me everything you know. Run that info. So Sylvie snatches her and takes care of that. And then the show ends. Or so we thought. Because no, cutscene, end credit scene. Hello, darkness, my old friend. We missed you. I was looking forward to an end scene, and we got our first end scene in Loki. And it is Loki wakes up somewhere else. Somewhere else, as in, looks like a Battle of New York, potentially, that went south. A Battle of New York, maybe that the Avengers lost. A Battle of New York that maybe the nuke destroyed. Something happened. This looks like New York. And Loki gets interrupted when he's asking, am I dead? Am I in hell? And he gets interrupted by a voice, to which he turns, and it's the 4 Lokis. So Loki is now on a planet that seems to be ruled by the Council of Lokis. And the Council of Lokis consists of Ego Loki, Classic Loki, Alligator Loki, and Kid Loki. And we don't know who did the speaking, because by the time we turn to them, they're just staring at him all like, So Loki is now on the planet with the Council of Lokis. And this is going to be very interesting, because now we in a space that's like, oh shit. We know that Sylvie's in the TVA. She done got control. She done got what she wanted. She's got the judge by the balls. She's got Renslayer. She's about to get all the info, because Renslayer about to cry, sing like a little baby bird. And Loki, on the other hand, is somewhere else. We now know that this whole pruning thing is not the perishing of those individuals, but instead it is the transportation of these individuals to elsewhere. And the 4 Lokis greet Loki saying, hey, bro, join the party, man. So, yeah, man, that was like a hell of a fucking surprise. Now, to be honest with you, I would have preferred that we ended this episode thinking that Loki had perished. I would have loved to have just sat in that pain, in that sadness of thinking that Loki was annihilated for the whole week until next Wednesday, when the next episode debuts. I would have loved that wallowing. I would have cherished that festering of sadness. But they quickly resolved that issue and didn't give us but about 30 seconds, maybe, if that much, of damn, that's fucked up. Oh, he's okay. Okay, never mind. Like the tear barely made it down the cheek, and it was like, what tear? No, it was something in my eye. The wind blew. And Loki's fine. I would have loved Loki to be fucked up like for a whole week, and then we didn't know that he was going to survive. That would have been so great. Just like the trailers have given away, we already kind of, Mobius was already shown in trailers for things that he hasn't done yet. So we also knew kind of that Mobius, either there's more Mobius like in the comics, or Mobius didn't perish in that moment either. So, man, there was this episode was great. I have to say that there are good episodes, and then there are episodes, and then there are episodes that really push the envelope of the story. The first episode and this episode, episode 1 and episode 4, progressively push the envelope of the story greatly, intensely. And I'm interested to see what do you do next? Where is this going? It's like, it's insane what they're doing. It's insane how they're doing it. It's so funny. It's like, it's just surprising. Like, they're giving us so much, and they've opened up so many variations and possibilities in this. We're seeing all these variations. We were thinking we are going to get to see multiple Spider-Man, and we're going to see a Ace Vane in the new Spider-Man. Fuck that. We ain't have to wait to see multiple of any character. We just got to see multiple Lokis right now in real time. Before all of that, Multiverse of Madness be damned. Spider-Man, whatever. No, Loki gave us multiple Lokis. So yeah, man, I'm down with joining the Loki game, man. We can do the Council of Lokis. We can go to that planet and get it in, because I'm pretty sure you put a group of Lokis together, some shit is about to go down. Some shit about to go down with all them Lokis together. You guarantee it. So yeah, Loki episode 4, the Nexus event. It's about to be on. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yo, absolutely right. Completely true. It's absolutely correct. You know it's about to go down now. You absolutely know it's about to go down now. So yeah, I got nothing. Like, the episode was great, and I loved it. I loved all the important things. So here's the takeaway, right? My theory that Lokis are, well, the Lokis are Nexus beings, and Nexus beings are the embodiment of chaos to create opportunity for growth and deviation in the multiverse. And the timekeepers, or whomever is behind the smokescreen of the timekeepers, is trying to prevent the chaos of the universe. It's very Jurassic Park in its presentation, that nature finds a way, and that in all of these scenarios, these individuals have the power to change reality, or as Mobius said, break reality. But the question is, that's based on his propaganda that he's been receiving. Is it in fact propaganda, or is it true? I think that it's not going to break the reality. I think that the Lokis come together are guaranteeing that the multiverse will be, and that this multiverse thing is something of significance. Now, I'm going to go a little into a deeper theory that I have. Bear with me. And anybody that wants to join in after this can join in on IG Live, and we can get it in and we can talk this talk. But here's my ultimate theory. And I hate the fact that this is going to sound like a Mephisto and WandaVision. And I'm not saying that this individual is going to show up in the show. But if you know who Kang the Conqueror is, and you understand how close to this story Kang actually is, more than even Mephisto and WandaVision, Kang is very close in this story. Why do I say that? Because Renslayer is a love interest of Kang. And Renslayer is clearly working for somebody. She did not in the slightest seem surprised when the timekeepers proved to be robots. She did not respond like, oh my God, I've been duped. I think she already knew. And I think that she's a part of the problem. And I think that Renslayer is actually working for or with Kang. I think that Kang is the one who's probably been giving her gifts. And I think that if you know anything about Kang, you know that Kang has this very particular thing about a certain timeline enduring, because there's a certain future that he wants to happen. And his whole MO is ensuring that that timeline that he wants to happen saves the future the way he wants it to be saved. Kang is very much kind of like another variation of the Trunks thing, where he's trying to prevent a destructive moment in the future. And so he goes to the past and to different places in time and alters things to ensure things lead towards that direction. So he would be a very much strong candidate for who's behind the curtain, who's behind the robot jerks. Fuck them robots. I think so. If Kang is behind all this, what's happening is that this sacred timeline is the timeline that produces the results of the future that Kang wants to have. And that Kang is actually in the future monitoring this. And he communicates to Renslayer through some type of device that results in that. Yeah, Kang has not become Immortus yet. This is Kang that's still trying to prevent timelines. But I think this is going to result in Kang evolving, because if the Lokis fuck up the timeline with their love or whatever the fuck that is, if Lokis are going to defeat the sacred timeline and destroy the sacred timeline and the whole TVA with the power of self-love. This is a self-help episode. This whole series is a therapy for Loki, and he's discovering self-love. But yeah, Immortus is coming, and I think Immortus is going to become the bigger baddie. But right now we're going to watch the evolution throughout the next phase, where Kang is going to have these moments that trigger him and lead to him becoming a nihilist, or rather, I should say, Immortus. But yeah, he's coming, and he very much is, I think, the big honcho somewhere behind the smoke screen, behind the curtain, and it's going to be the Lokis that are going to be the big trigger for him. That's going to make him have to decide to do things differently. I think that the TVA, or the creation of the TVA, is a great way for him to keep things in order without doing what he will eventually do, which becomes a conqueror of time. He hasn't got to that place yet because this whole TVA thing was working. Unfortunately, the Lokis are interfering with the success of the TVA, and then that's going to have to cause him to deviate and alter his plans. To quote a famous movie, I am altering the plan. Pray I don't alter it any further. Yeah, I think we're about to see Kang in a very important way manifest through all this chaos and insanity that we're seeing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that in a very major way, and we should see what's going to come of that. So for those who are not on IG Live, stay tuned, because I'm not going nowhere. But I just want to say peace to everybody that's watching me on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook Live, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I love y'all. Thank you. Please go to my Twitch. Go to the Twitch for the Amby Warhol Show, the YouTube for the Amby Warhol Show. Go to the Twitch for Fly Nerd Group, and go to the YouTube for Fly Nerd Group and Fly Nerd Primetime specifically. Go to the auspicenow.bandcamp.com and purchase the compilation album that we released over the past week and a half. Please do all these things for me. Just the support by following and subscribing to our channels. You don't understand how much that does for us, and it doesn't cost you anything. So just for the sake of keeping this going and for us to build this momentum, please go and subscribe to all of our channels. On IG, follow the whole Fly Nerd crew, the whole Fly Nerd group, all of us. Follow all of us, every single one of us on IG Live, everywhere. We're coming. We've got big things again. Fly Nerd is going to be featured guest on Zoom tonight on another show. Details of that will follow soon. I will post some details about where you can find us. We're recording our show tomorrow. We got some good shit for that, and that's going to air on Wednesday. So stay tuned for updates on that. And yes, I love y'all. Thank you very much for tuning in over there in those other lands. Y'all don't go nowhere on IG Live. I'm still here. But yeah, man, this is everything is coming along very, very, very well, and I'm super excited for the things that we got coming. So, yeah, we on that. Peace. So yeah.